Welcome to lesson 1. In this lesson, I'm going to help you get set up with these 3 things that you need to do your coding. A dedicated folder on your computer, Notepad++ software, and the Chrome web browser. To create the right folder on your computer, have a place that you can refer to, and preferably that's backed up to the cloud. I'm using a folder on my computer called Javascript 101. Inside here, I'm going to make a folder called coding. And I can do that in a couple of ways. I can click on the button at the top that creates a new folder, or I can right click and go new folder. I'm going to call this folder coding, and inside this folder is where I'm going to save all the work that I do during my projects. The second thing that I need is Notepad++ software. Now you should have this installed on your computer already if you press the Windows key and you search for Notepad++. Not Notepad, but this one down here called Notepad++. If you don't have this software already, it's easy enough to download it off the internet. Notepad++ software looks like this, and it's a very simple text editor. It allows you to edit text files, which is what we write JavaScript in. And the third thing that you need is a Chrome web browser. Now I've got my Chrome web browser down here. It's just Google Chrome that you use like normal. So what we're going to do in the rest of this video is show you how to create your first file. And we're going to work through this checklist. Have we got Notepad++? We do. Do we have Chrome? I'm going to make this into a little checklist like this. We've got that. We've got Chrome. We've made our dedicated folder called coding. Okay, let's create a file in Notepad++ and save it into our coding folder, making sure it has the right file extension. When we're writing code in JavaScript, we have to save our files with a very particular file extension. And that file extension is HTML. HTML. And that stands for Hypertext Markup Language. That tells the computer that the kind of file that we're creating is a file that runs over the internet. And the way we do that is we go to Notepad++. You'll normally have a blank file in front of you, and you can just write something in it, like this is my first page. I'll make it a bit bigger so it's easier to see. And what we're going to do is save this file into our coding folder. And you can click on this little disk here that is called Save. By clicking on that, it'll give you an option about where to save your files to. I'm going to go to my OneDrive account, and I'm going to go to my JavaScript folder and my coding folder. So I'm now inside my coding folder, and I'm going to call my first file lesson1.html. You have to call it .html. If you don't do that, none of the rest of this will work. So that's very important. Your file must have a .html on the end. The beginning part doesn't really matter. You can call it whatever you want, but the .html is very important. Save. Okay, there it says this is my first page. Now if I go back to my coding folder, I see that I can see lesson1.html, and it's got a little Chrome symbol next to it. If I go back to my checklist, I can see it in it's been created in Notepad++. Can I see my file in the coding folder? I can. And can I see its file extension? Now you might not be able to see the file extension unless you go to View and make sure that file name extensions here is ticked. So if I turn it off, my HTML part disappears. If I click on View, file name extensions and tick it, it reappears. So make sure that you can see this .html. Okay. The best way to check that this works is to put a little bit of HTML into our page. So I'm going to go back to my page. I'm going to use an HTML tag. The H1 tag means this is a heading, and it must be surrounded by these curly brackets, these pointy brackets. And so this means create a level 1 heading, write the word my page, and then turn off the level 1 heading. The / before the H1 means turn it off. So we're just going to use a simple HTML tag. Now that I've made changes to my page, you'll see that the little disk next to the name has gone red. That means it hasn't been saved. And if I click on the little blue disk, you'll see it turns blue again, which means it has been saved. I can go back to my folder where I can see it, and I can get this page to open up in Chrome by double clicking it. So if I double click it, it'll open in Chrome, and what you expect to see is my page is written in writing that's bigger than the rest of it. Okay, my page should be quite big, and the rest of it should be quite small. A good way to work is to have your page in Chrome open up on one half of your screen and your page in Notepad++ open up on the other half of your screen, like that. That way, when you make changes, I make changes to my Notepad++, it goes red, I click on my blue disk, it goes blue again. This page will change when I refresh. If I click on this reload button, I click on it and it'll see the changes over there. Okay, what we're going to be doing in our pages is using JavaScript, and to see our JavaScript we have to first of all create a script section. So we write script, open and close it. Similarly to how we did h1 and closed h1 with a forward slash, we write script and close it with a forward slash. We only need to have this once on our page. And when we're working inside JavaScript, anything we write inside here will then be processed by the computer as JavaScript. And most of our code that we write during this course is going to be done inside these script tags. And we can do things like writing to the console. Hello world. And we'll talk a bit more about what all these different things mean. But what we're trying to do here is get it to write hello world onto something called the console. So in other words, log it onto the console. So we'll save it. Remember, it's gone red. So we click it, come back to our page, reload. We don't see any difference because in this view, we can't see the console. In order to see the console, we click up here on the three little buttons, go to more tools and go to developer tools. You'll notice that there's a shortcut here, Control-Shift-I will let us quickly go back to developer tools. I click on there, it'll open up developer tools, and at the top there's a whole lot of things. Make sure console is chosen, this one where it says console, and you should see hello world there. If I change this file again to copy that, and I write something else onto the console, my name is JavaScript 101, and I save my file. I come back here to my Chrome view, I refresh it, I'll see another line. Because the way that code works is it executes all these lines one at a time. It executes this one, then this one, all the way through. So it starts from line 1 and executes each line one at a time. That's how they work. So let's go back to our checklist. Can we see our file extension? We can. We know exactly what all these different things are. And this is the little video clip that you'll come back to under lesson 1 if you can't remember how to get set up. So let's pretend we've closed everything down. I'm going to close my Notepad++. I'm going to close my Chrome, and I'm going to close my folder. You don't have to save anything because you've been saving all the time. So when you come back next time, how do you find everything? Well, you go back to your folder again, and you'll go back to your folder where you were working, which is called JavaScript 101, and your coding folder. So remember where your coding folder is, and I go inside here. Now, if I double click on this file, it's going to open it up in Chrome for me. That's what we saw before. And if I want to see it in the editor view, the Notepad++ view, I must right click on it, and then I go edit with Notepad++. Click on that, and it'll open up in Notepad++. I can drag it across to the side and let it open up and click on Chrome. That way I can get the two windows next to each other again. And that's how you'll come back to whichever particular file you are working on in the last lesson. Okay, so that covers everything you need to know for lesson 1. We're going to move on now onto lesson 2.